my beautiful people in the four corner of the globe. My name is Twin Brothers from the Royal Maroon Herbal Shop. It's a pleasure to have this wonderful guest from the Moortown community. Not just that this brother is from the Moortown community, but he's also, when we say Maroon, I mean Moortown community, we mean Portland. It's a pleasure to have this wonderful guest, Colonel Sterling. He's the colonel or the chief of the Maroon in our midst today in London, England, and to be more specific, Peckham. You know? So, with any further ado, I will let Mr. Colonel Sterling introduce himself and take it from there. Yes, sir.
Well, the first thing I want to say is for those who will be listening to us, who are viewing us, that for me personally, it's a pleasure to be here once more in the community of Peckham in London, England, to participate in an interview program like this, where I can answer just about any question that anybody would want to pose. And I will do my best in terms of enlightening people and their knowledge of the Maroons in Jamaica. Like Twin Brother said, I'm from the Moortown Maroon community, where I'm the chief, and the Moortown Maroon community includes most, if not all, the communities of the upper part of the Rio Grande Valley in Portland, Jamaica. There's another Maroon community in Jamaica that is known as Charlestown. We are like approximately 33 miles away from that one. And another nearest one is in Scottsdale in St. Mary. And then the other one in Jamaica that is of prominence also is the Accompong Maroon community in St. Elizabeth. But as Maroon, we strive to keep the culture alive. The things that our foreparents had handed down to us, we are doing our endeavor best to try to move them on to the younger generation that is coming up. Because that is the only way we'll be able to keep the culture and the heritage, that great heritage, alive.
Yes, well said, Colonel Sterling. That I take the same position to be a citizen here in London, to make it my duty to spread this message of the importance role of the Maroon here in the Maroon community here in London, and not just London, in England, Nottingham, Birmingham, Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, and all over the UK. To bring this is my intention with this interview, so we can clear some myth that the people have about the Maroon now and then. And like the Colonel said, the young generation is very important. This part of culture that we have to let the young generation here in London and all over the globe know this importance. But I would like to just propose a basic question to the Colonel pertaining to how many holidays, Colonel, that we have on celebration, because I think we have one on the October 15 coming up. Could you tell me how much of them we have celebrated in Jamaica as a and is that the Maroon community in a hold? I think it's 4 to 5 segments of the Maroons in Jamaica. Is they celebrate these festivals on the same day?
Well, every different Maroon community have its own day of celebration, and some people might want to look at them as festivals, but we consider them a little bit more than a festival. It's a celebration, right? It's honoring the ancestors that would have passed on before us. Even though you get some sort of festive feeling in those celebrations, but the serious part of it is really about, paying respect and due to the elders that would have laid the foundation for us today and upon which we stand proudly. Now, there are 4 main Maroon communities presently operational in Jamaica. 3 of them is in the windward side of the island. That is the eastern end of the island. and the other one is in the leeward side, which is the western end of Jamaica. But there's also another community that was known back in the days where the treaty was signed with Krojok, as that was known as Trelawney Town Maroon. And they were the ones who were involved in the Second Maroon War when they were deported from Jamaica to Canada and then from Canada to Sierra Leone, and then some of them end up back in Jamaica. That community is known as Flagstaff at the moment. What we are doing through the Maroon Secretariat, because all the Maroons meet together under one national umbrella that is known as the Maroon Secretariat, we are trying our endeavor best to revive the Flagstaff situation, to make it come right up back to where it ought to be and take its rightful place amongst the other Maroon communities in Jamaica. So every community will have a celebration. It's starting with the 6th of January in Akompong, and that is to mark Kojo's birthday. That's the day that celebration takes place.
Akompong is in Chile.
Akompong is in St. Elizabeth. It is a leeward Maroon. Then on the 23rd of June is a celebration in Charlestown. In actual fact, what they do in Charlestown, they have almost maybe 4 days of celebration. 4 days because they call it the Charlestown Maroon Conference. So different days, different things will have happened. I mean, you would have people presenting papers and stuff like that, and various aspects of the Maroon life and other community matters. Then on the 1st of August, we have a celebration in Scottsall. That's where it's at. And Scottsall, being a part of the Windward Maroon, they are celebrating Nani and they are also celebrating Kwao. Because the way the communities had set up, early after the treaty, there was Moortown, the new Nani Town, which is presently known as Moortown, and then there was Charlestown, and basically Crawford Town. So that's where it is. But Scottsall came out of the Charlestown. So in Moortown, and the 3rd Monday of October, we have a celebration. This year we'll be doing our 279th year of celebration. Next year will be 280 years. And we have started the plan from now for next year, even though as we speak now, this year one hasn't been held as yet. But we are planning ahead for next year because we want to make a big thing of that one. It's going to be, since it's 280 years, it's a significant milestone by any stretch of the imagination. So those are the dates that the various Maroon community have their celebration. In Moortown, we are honoring Granny Nani. In Charlestown, they focus more on Kwao. But the fact of the matter is that Nani was the leader of the Windward Maroons. So when they were fighting in the bush, all of these other Maroon that makes up the Windward Maroon fell under the leadership of Granny Nani. Is when the treaty was signed in 1739 and the 23rd of June that settlement was made in what is now Charlestown and in what is now Moortown, because it was known as the New Nani Town when it was originally founded. That was to separate. That was to distinguish it from the Nani Town that was in the Blue Mountain, way up in the Blue Mountain.
How it become Moortown? How that name comes from?
I will explain that. Our ancestors never called the settlement in the Blue Mountain Nani Town. That's not what they had called it. They called it Tony River. Because
Tony River.
It was located on the bank of the Stony River, but they never said Stony River. They said Tony River.
Tony River.
Tony River.
Yeah, Tony River. You hear that?
That's how they had pronounced
That's the patois style, you know.
Well, in actual fact, if your mother tongue was not English, and you are going to be speaking English and saying something in English term, it will certainly have a reflection on your mother tongue. The accent and everything would have
the mother tongue, which is Africa.
Which is Africa. And we need to bear in mind also that our foreparents, though living together, they did not all come from the same African tribal groups. So they would have spoke different tribal languages. But as the question is asked, and I'm on this question of the language, right? when they lived together, they forged a language that it comes from the different tribal languages that they spoke. Even though it was dominated by Twi-speaking people. They call the language Chromanti. It is not Chromanti as reflecting the Chromanti people in present-day Ghana.
Okay, see.
But Chromanti as reflecting the port of Chromanti, where most of them were ill, or a lot of them were ill before they were shipped out to this other side of the Atlantic.
See. And where that port were?
It is in present-day Ghana. And it is important to know that the name of the port was changed to New Amsterdam or something like that, right? But in discussion with the government of Ghana, they decided to rename the port of Chromanti in honor of those.
Yes, see.
And I also want to say at this point in time that with discussion with the African countries through the Maroon Secretariat, most of them have decided, especially those in West Africa, and those that were under English colonization, they have decided to build a monument in each country. There's a gate that the people would have come through at these slave ports, right? It was known as a gate of no return.
See, exactly.
Once you go through that
door is finished.
You're not going to be coming back into the motherland. You're going to be shipped out.
Yeah.
So we get the government of Nigeria have already built a monument. It was the first one to do so. So we call that the gate of return.
See.
Meaning that any and every African in the diaspora is free to go back to the motherland.
See.
And they will be welcome.
Without any visa, you're saying, an entrance.
We're working on all of those things, right?
Yes.
Because, from here to get to Africa, and I can see same from here, from Jamaica in particular to go to Africa, then, you're going to need a visa, either a British visa or an American visa. Or you're going to take the other road to Brazil and then over.
I think maybe Amsterdam or France.
Somewhere. But you're still going to need a visa. But what we're looking at is the African countries themselves. How we get there without any visa from them. Because the visas are generally granted at the port of entry. The other thing is, we are looking at, and we have a discussion with, through the Secretariat again, with Nigerians and so, how you get air link directly from Africa to the Caribbean. Because this is one of the greatest drawback that we had. Back in the days when slaves were transported to and fro, there were constant, movements between Africa and the Caribbean. And now that the movement is much easier, it is not happening. So, we are working on that. So those are the kind of things that we have now in the diaspora, what we are working towards. And in addition to that, recently, we would have had, in last year, we would have had the ambassador for the African Union, the ambassador in the diaspora region for the African Union, meeting with us in Jamaica at a compound town, and also have given an undertaking that they will build an office of the African Union, open one in a compound in Jamaica. Not in Kingston, not in Port Antonio, not in Spanish Town or Montego Bay, but in a compound town. So those are things that we are working on at this moment. Because she has been there last year, she has come back to the celebration January 6th in a compound. So we're moving along that way. And what we're looking at trade between the Maroon communities and Africa for a start. Of course, it will involve the rest of Jamaica, but since we are in a position to go through with these things, then we are going to be doing those. But I also want to say something, because there are some misconception about the Maroons and what Maroon mean and everything like that. The truth of the matter is, our foreparents for a start never called themselves Maroon.
Exactly.
Maroon was really the derogatory
A derogatory way to describe
the slaves who would have left the plantation.
Yeah.
So our foreparents used the Akan word that they know and which applied best to their situation.
The Akan word, which country can we relate to that Akan word?
The Akan is the Akan speaking people. When I spoke about the three language earlier, right?
Yes.
Those are the Akan speaking, the Ashanti and the Fanti, those persons who fell under those influences. That's Akan.
I see.
So our foreparents calling themselves that because the word Yenkunkuna, it actually means, some people say Yenkunkuna and some say Yankunkuna, right? But what it actually meant, right, means is it means a free and independent people. People are self-reliant. People will work together for the common good of the community. I will watch your back and you will watch out my back, right? So it's a kind of communal way of living with one central leadership.
And the common law, the common law of the land falls into those categories. Is it so?
Right. You see, when our foreparents signed a treaty with the government, that gave them the right to govern themselves.
I see.
In most cases, save and except for one case, in the case of murder was committed in the community. And then even under that case, it would have to be tried in the community. And it is the community who would have to take a decision that whatever happened was murder, yes, as well as opposed to self-defense.
Yeah.
And then they would take determination if they should turn the person over to the nearest magistrate.
Yeah, exactly.
So they basically have total autonomy over themselves in that regard.
And these things are practiced up to today in the Maroon community.
Most of it is practiced today.
Yes.
Because the treaty as was signed back then 279 years ago. Some of the aspects of that treaty were relevant to that period of time.
Yes.
And not necessarily to today's society.
Okay.
Because it spoke to slaves, it was about slaves, free blacks, and the white colonizers. So there's basically no white colonizer and there's no slaves.
See. What about distribution of land during that signature? Signature of owning land and possession of land.
Well, the land was given to Nani and her followers, and land was given to Kwahu as well.
I see.
And and down in Scotsall as well, and all the other Maroon communities.
Yeah.
So the Maroons had the right to determine how their land should be distributed amongst themselves. And they made those determinations. From a very early stage, they made determination who should own what and who should own what.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, the Maroon Council is the body that is responsible for overseeing all of the affairs of the Maroon communities. And the Maroon Council has a head to whom the government referred to as the colonel, but the people refer to as the chief.
The chief, yeah.
Because in fact, I didn't treat the person as a chief. But why the word colonel comes into the picture is that the British view the Maroons fighting them as a militia. And then they begin to equate leadership of that militia with that of a regular army.
The army, yes.
So you end up with terms like colonel and majors and captain and lieutenant and so on and so forth. So that is how it goes, but that's not necessarily how our foreparents would have referred to themselves.
Yeah.
But I must say though, that there are some things that one has to take into consideration. If you apply a term to a given situation all the time, whether it is a correct terminology, yes or no, after a period of time, it kind of sticks.
Yeah.
So if you continually talk about Maroons, and it is in written document and not Yenkunkuno, then more or less.
Yes, yeah.
But notwithstanding that, even today, we describe ourselves as Yenkunkuno Pikibo, meaning that we are all children of those early freedom fighters who had established the rules for us, right?
Exactly.
We still refer to ourselves as Granny Nani Yo-Yo because we are all children of Granny Nani.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily get into the whole matter of genealogy. That's not the important issue here. The thing is that she was our priestess, she was our queen,
yeah.
She was our chieftainess, and she was our mother. And as such, we would be her children.
Exactly. Yeah, Colonel, on that point, we want should you let them know to the viewers out there that maybe watches this footage that what is your role as a colonel? Could you just sum it up real quick for us, please?
Okay, so being a colonel, I always say to people, it's more like you be a mayor for a city. You need to look out for the well-being of the people, to see that the peace is kept in the community. When people have their problems and they bring it to you, you have to try to, as best you can, along with the council, to resolve it. Because the colonel does not exist by his or herself. The colonel comes with a council. In our situation, like in Moortown, since there are several communities, districts that makes up the Moortown community, what you do is a certain quota comes from each of these districts that makes up the council.
Yeah.
So the colonel is basically the head of that council.
Yeah.
So you need to ensure that you want to know that people have potable water. You want to see that you have to lobby the government to make sure that the roads are fixed.
Yeah.
You want to know that school is in place, the health centers are functioning. You want to see whatever economic project you can do to create employment in the community. And presently, we are working down many lanes now in terms of getting those economic things up. Traditionally, these communities are farming communities. But farming has taken a nosedive some time ago, right? Only now we are resuscitating, we are getting back to farming. So what you find is that a lot of young people are not necessarily interested in farming. But you got to say to them and to do things to make them know that it's not a back-breaking kind of thing. Or you get value-added things from the products that you are producing. That is how farming is all about now. And you need to mechanize as much as you possibly can, given the fact that these are small, rural, hilly countries where it does not lend itself to a certain level of mechanization. So we do those things, and when people have dispute, like for example, since the land is basically owned in common, if there's a dispute about boundaries and stuff like that, it is the council that deal with that. Because at the end of the day, whatever the council says, that is what.
When you talk about the government, I mean, how is it? Are the government forthcoming with some of the requests that you as a colonel personally make to these governments about the roads?
The governments don't
trades.
Always act promptly. But the thing is that from the very beginning, the Maroons themselves were responsible for dealing with their roads. But after a while, the government says, no, this doesn't make sense because you are making these roads and we are using these roads as well. So the government took over that responsibility. Just like how the government had the responsibility for the potable water, because these communities are small rural communities with a lot of springs and river around. So you could always go to the river to get potable, to get water to drink and to wash and to bathe and do all the things. But these are modern times. So the government would have run pipeline and they were not doing a good job of it. So we said to them, leave it alone, we will do it and we get water. So we do that ourselves. So we ensure that the water is there. To the extent now that we are looking at bottling water to sell as a commercial entity.
That's good business.
We are beginning to print T-shirts in the community.
That's good.
That's another community thing. We are developing our ecotourism bases in the community. We have a beautiful waterfall like in Moortown.
What about teaching the children the Kamati language? What about that?
I'll get to that. We will ensure that we develop the waterfall in a way that it becomes an major economic force in the community in terms of earner. And then we are going to be creating a new, let me put this. Let me say this. We are going to recreate an original Maroon village. Because many times people come to the community, they expect to find the community as it was 250 years ago. And you are saying to people, no, it wouldn't be like that because you're not necessarily locked away in some sort of time capsule. And people don't move. People move.
Exactly.
So, but seeing that this is a situation that people, and we think it's a good idea to recreate an original Maroon village. So we have set lands aside that we're going to be starting next year. We're going to be putting up. But the beauty about this village that we are going to be recreating is that it's gonna be a situation where the huts that we set up are a place where people can stay.
Yes, yeah.
So the huts are gonna have modern facilities in them.
And
We save and except for one
yeah.
that will be used for exhibition purposes.
Yeah.
Where we will have all the traditional furniture
And security, because people are concerned about security
Okay.
in Jamaica.
Yeah,
So we're looking at security as well.
Security was never really an issue in our neck of the wood.
Yes, yeah.
Because everybody in the community knows everybody.
See.
And if something should go wrong in the community, 10 to 1 chance you can pinpoint it to whosoever would have carried out any act. Because you know people and people know people, and you know who is likely to do what and who won't do what.
Yeah.
So under those circumstances, we're not too perturbed about, the security of these facilities that we are talking about. But we nevertheless put security in place as is required. So that is what. So when we go back, and I spoke to like the waterfall. At the waterfall, we're going to be putting in a restroom facilities, a kitchen facility, and we're going to put
there are many waterfalls in this area. What waterfall specifically?
The Nanny Fall.
The Nanny Fall, yes.
Because there are many more. Presently in Millbank, there's Ambassador.
Ambassador, yes.
Where it's an eco tourism thing.
I think, yeah.
And some things is being done out in Windsor, even though Windsor by itself is not a really Maroon community, but a vast amount of Maroons live there.
Yes,
so things are being done there. And as I speak now, we are doing projects like through the GEF, Global Environmental Fund Small Grants Project. We're doing environmental projects like tree planting, agroforestry.
That's good, very important.
Yeah, and building trails.
Trails, yeah.
Where people can use to go and do coney watching, to do butterfly and bird watch.
Yes.
So we are building those trails, and we're going to be doing trails all the way up to what we are negotiating. We are discussing it. A trail to the old Nanny Town or Tony River.
Yeah.
Because I don't know at the end of the day that we might want too many persons venturing into that area. It's a sacred area. Yeah. It is sacred to us.
Tony River, where is it located?
It's in the Blue Mountain.
The Blue Mountain.
Way up in the Blue Mountain.
Yeah.
Where
the Swedish did have some issue. You take a mission with the Swedish people there under the banner of the Prime Minister.
No, I can't remember that. I know sometime in the past, in about 73, there was an archaeological dig that was done there by the British.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
for what purpose they would?
Like I said, it was an archaeological dig to and the site itself.
Yeah.
See what artifacts were there and what they recovered. And after that.
Did they take anything, Colonel? That's what
I'm saying that was in about 73, right?
So you wasn't Colonel that.
Whatever things that would have been there.
Yeah.
The Colonel at the time was still Joyce, one that I succeed.
Oh yeah.
My understanding is that some of the artifacts would be at the University of the West Indies and some might have been here in England.
England, yes. Yeah.
So whatever is there, I think when the time comes, when we have a proper place to house them. We do have a small cultural space now where we have artifacts.
Exactly.
But we do not consider it adequate enough to house a certain amount of things, right?
Yes,
so as soon as we build up this new village and do all the other things, we will seek out to get those things inside there.
Yeah.
So it goes like that, People, you have to make sure that you get your hack right, so that we don't advertise that much on the internet.
Exactly.
Because we don't think that we have presently the standard of which we can invite people to come in and deal with it. Yeah. Mind you, even though it is out there in spits and purses, right? Still quite a few amount of persons are coming now.
I'm fully aware of that.
So what we are doing now is working to ensure that the facilities that we have is of top-notch quality.
Yeah.
Because given my past experience, a visitor will leave with the first impression that they get.
Yes. Yeah.
And my past experience of working with tourism have taught me that.
Exactly.
Make somebody happy, make somebody get a good impression when they come the first time, and they will come again.
It's true.
If their first impression is a bad one, no matter what you try to do,
you cannot convince them.
You might not be able to get them to come back again.
But speak about artifacts.
the British do have some artifacts for us and a lot. And as you as a Maroon colonel, I'd rather make any requests for them. Even you don't have a place to put them, you said at the moment. Have you make any requests for some of these artifacts to bring back to Jamaica?
No, we have not at this point in time made any requests, but we will.
You will, yes.
And first of all...
Do you know what some of those artifacts are?
Well, here you go now.
Yeah.
We want to first of all ascertain what is out there.
Exactly. Yes.
And when we can do that and where they are at this point in time.
Yeah.
Because normally, I don't know what the agreement that the government of Jamaica and the British had at that point in time.
Yeah.
I know those that Kofi Agasa, he was the professor, the dean of archaeology at Oregon State University.
Exactly, yeah.
You
said Kofi
Agasa.
Not the Kofi that was...
No, it's a different one.
Not the one that is from the UN nation.
No. Kofi Agasa.
Agasa, yeah.
Yes, he's from Ghana as well, but he is a different person.
And what you think?
He's a doctor, Professor Kofi Agasa.
He's still alive?
As far as I'm concerned, he's alive, but he's probably not that well as what I know. So whatever he has, we can get. And I've been in discussion with, Dr. Kenneth Bilby, who has some material as well, that through his research work.
Who's Bilby?
Kenneth Bilby.
Bilby. Who's this guy?
He was a person with a fellowship from Smithsonian Institution when he was doing his doctorate. And his main focus was on the music of the Maroon.
Where is he from? He's an American?
He's an American.
Afro-American, or
he's a white American.
Okay.
But whatever research material he has, that he in discussion with him, they are deposited with the Smithsonian Institute, and if he doesn't say we can get them, we won't get them. So we will, and he is prepared to give us access to them.
To them, okay.
So those we will get.
Good. That's good.
He has also written a book, True Born Maroon.
Yeah.
Because he stayed in the community for more than a year. He did research. But there are many other persons who did research. There are Miss Beverly Carey, who does a lot of research on the Maroon, and she herself is a Maroon, and she has written the Maroon story, our story, right?
Yeah.
And she has written other books, and she's writing other books at this point in time.
Yes.
Those materials, all of what she had, we can have access to those, because persons from the community were also involved in helping her during the time that she was doing some of the research. Yeah.
So, Colonel, I live here in London, England, live in America for many years as well. And I always try to keep the spirit of the Maroon with me. And just because of that, I'm getting a lot of attack about. One of them is about the Maroon is a sellout. I want you to clear up that for me. And I want to call a name in this point. Muta Baruka and his radio show always stated that the Maroon should make an apology of this treaty that has been signed between 1830-something with the British. Because that treaty, could you make that?
It's 1739.
1739. So could you make clear that for me, please?
Yeah. If you take things out of context, then you're going to have yourself in trouble. Things has to be contextualized. Things has to be seen against the background. Because nothing doesn't happen by chance.
Exactly.
It might seem that some things happen by chance, but there's a design. Now, when our foreparents signed that treaty, they signed a treaty with slavery as an active part of plantation. The colonial masters were there. They want to protect what they consider their property. They want to protect their interests, their source of wealth and economic well-being. Now, when our foreparents were fighting, they left the plantation to go out in the hills to fight. And I mentioned earlier about the different slaves from different tribes coming together to fight against a colonial master because that was their common enemy. But never you think that these slaves are farmer slaves, as it were, never had their own differences amongst themselves before they come together. From even when they were in the motherland. So, you got to ask yourself a question. When the Maroons were fighting, did this to liberate all the slaves on the plantation, or they were just thinking about the Yankunkuno method?
Exactly.
Those who are with me, I am with you.
Exactly.
And if you are not with me, I'm not with you. The slave master, the colonialists, they practice what was a system that was known as divide and rule, and it's still divide and rule, which they still practice even now.
No, exactly.
And they had a treaty with a certain amount of farmer slaves, the Maroons, led by Kojo on one hand and Nani on the other hand.
Yeah.
If you look at the first clause in that treaty, it says that the Maroons sue for peace.
See.
If you understand what suing for peace meant in international terms, you will know that it is the loser who would have sued for peace and not the victor.
Yes.
But having said that, our foreparents never leave the mountains to go and find the soldiers or the planters or the government in the valley and to say, we want to sign a peace treaty with you. They never did that. It was the other way around. Because it was the government that was losing the war. And if they could have won the war via the sword or the gun, they wouldn't want to have the treaty.
Yes.
But because they were the ones who were doing the reading and writing,
yes.
they wrote into it that this is what happened. They never said that the Maroon come asking for peace. They used the word sue for peace. Because the average Maroon there and then wouldn't understand what that means.
Exactly.
So somebody would do that and they said, okay, fine, the pen is now mightier than the sword.
Exactly.
200 years on, when we read these articles, if you know clearly what you need to say, that is the Maroon were losing the war, which in fact and in truth, I'm going to come to your point, which in fact and in truth, there's not the situation. So, when people are going to say that the Maroon should have liberated all the other slaves and they sold out, they did not sold out. Because every time an expedition went out to search for the Maroons in the bush, those expeditions were led by slaves.
Exactly.
If any of those slaves were able to capture any of the Maroons fighter, they would be well rewarded for it.
Exactly.
And if I am in my struggle and fighting for my freedom, and you are coming there to interrupt it, to try to bring the enemies to me,
exactly.
Even though you and I are of the same pigmentation and probably coming from the same tribe, but you must remember that you forget our brotherhood and to bring the enemies
in.
Now that I am free, what kind of obligation do I owe you who was on the opposite side? I don't know that I owe you any obligation. But being that I value freedom, then I should want to see somebody else free. So, one got to ask himself the question, even though the treaty said that the Maroon should return any slave, any fort who have left their owners to their own, and they will be compensated for their troubles. You still got to ask yourself the question, how many times did the Maroon return any slave? Those are questions that you need to answer. And those are pretend questions, right? Look at things like the Shamshap Rebellion, the Shamshap Uprising, the Shamshap War, not Shamshap, in...
You talk about St. Thomas?
No.
Shamshap.
No, I'm going to tell you. No, in St. Mary. Taki,
you see.
Now, how comes? When the Maroon went there, because they were called upon, they were treaty bound to go to present themselves. Because the treaty said they should assist the government in any further uprising. And they went. But the very British soldiers themselves referred to the Maroon as being workers and good for nothing.
Because they didn't carry out the duty.
They didn't, because they have no need to. They have no interest in carrying it out. But because you said I should be there, I present myself. Because they were compensating the Maroon for any slave that they killed.
Exactly.
The Maroon didn't have to kill them because who the British kill? They just cut off their ears and bring them in. And then the British realized that was taking place. So the British
So they
said,
call them workless.
yeah.
Because of
and when the Taki and his followers were shooting, the Maroons were seasoned fighters, so they lay. Then went on, the British were up fighting.
But
and
I think at you spoke in Right Lane on Saturday, and a question of the same one I proposed to you about the Maroon should do what? Apologize to the Jamaican.
Yeah, but
the gentleman claiming that you give a political answer to his question. So how can you make it more clearer, sir?
Okay.
And if he says political, what do you want to do? You want it more private or whatever? What does he mean?
Well, politics to me is how you govern. There's politics in the church, there's politics at home, there's politics in everywhere that you want to go, right? The question is, and I ask a question because I'm asked this question all the time. Our ancestors are accused of doing something that is bad in the eyes of the present day generation. Because every generation want to blame the one before.
Exactly.
The point is, many of us who are speaking or those persons who are asking were not present.
Exactly.
And if something went wrong, that people feel so strongly about it, and they would bring it up at every opportunity that they get. No. I ask this question all the time in response to that. Why is it?
So there should be no apology made. That's what we want to know.
Wait.
Yeah.
I want somebody to come to me and to say, like, for example, the government of Jamaica, right? That allows so many persons to die in Tivoli Garden. That allow the Coral massacre, the Coral Garden massacre, and have abused so many Rastafarian over the years and some other communities and Montego Bay, and even now.
Yeah.
There's this, some of them are sitting there in Parliament now. Or they were ones who would have kept the court like Saul did when they were stoning Stephen. But they're there.
Yeah.
And why is it that if the Maroons did anything so bad, and I'm not saying that all the things that they did, because we can look back at it now, because hindsight is 2020 vision.
Visions, exactly.
But we are far removed from the situation, the socio-economic situation that prevailed then.
Exactly.
But now we have an opportunity to make right in our time.
Yeah.
What is it that we do? Because I believe that, just like in the Bible, where Christ, they bring this woman to Jesus and said she was caught in the very act of adultery.
See.
And the Lord said he should stone her to death. But Christ didn't answer them. He wrote in the ground, he said, the one that has no sin cast the first stone.
Yes,
because if you caught this one in the very act of adultery, where is the man?
Man, you see, exactly.
There had to be a man, because woman could not commit it by herself. And if you want to retribution, you can deal with that. You can dispense that justice, but make sure that your hand is clean. So, people who would say this question, they got to answer to me why there is a place in Jamaica when one political party rules this and the other political party rules that, and if you move from this side of the community to the other side of the community, you're going to die.
Yeah, the PMP and the jail people.
So if 230 odd years ago, our foreparents made a mistake in signing a treaty like that, how comes 200 and that time after we have an independent situation?
But
where
are
we
you
have
under the notion that there's a mistake made? You under that notion as a
I don't know if the situation that happened at that time, through the eyes of the people who were fighting, to them was a mistake,
Yeah.
As far as I see,
but if there's a yes or no, do you know if there was a mistake made or
look
not?
here, okay, fine.
Yes or no?
For some of the people, it was a mistake because they None did not sign a treaty because some of them did not agree to the terms and conditions of the treaty.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it was signed.
Yeah.
But you got to look at what occurred thereafter. And if who is going to apologize to the Maroons for leading soldiers to come in their hideout and to find them and to slaughter some of them? Who is going to take that responsibility? For those who are Jamaicans who are non-Maroon,
Exactly.
some of them ancestors were involved,
Yeah.
are they going to come and apologize to the Maroons for any perceived wrongs that the Maroons have done?
So it's does the non-Maroons
That they would have done to the Maroons in other words?
is the non-Maroons and the Maroons are they segregated from the people?
No,
It's not.
we are the Maroons and the non-Maroons are not segregated, right?
Yeah.
If I walk on the street in Kingston and I don't tell that I'm a Maroon and you don't know me, you would know.
You wouldn't know.
And I could walk beside a person who's a Maroon and don't know because he just live in my neck of the wood.
And the Maroon can marry non-Maroon and non-Maroon
At this
marry
point in time, it is not prohibited. People can. But you see, you got to understand, in the very early days, right, the leadership of the community would not allow a non-Maroon, especially a male, to come into the community and marry to a Maroon woman.
Exactly, yes.
Because even though the treaty was signed, there was no love lost between our four parents and the British. They did not trust them even though they signed the treaty.
Exactly.
So they were always on the guard, and they was always on the guard for other non-Maroons who would come into the community and would want to integrate into the community and with the intention of making trouble.
That's it. So for that, you would have called them, they integrate to be a traitor then. To be a traitor.
So it was...
So that's where the protection at the early days for Maroons not to marry. Male marriage too.
Especially the female. They could not bring a male into the
community. Yes.
Because it was much more easier from their viewpoint for a man to have control over his wife than for the wife to have control over the man.
We know this in the Maroon community when a people is not a Maroon, them call them nigger. Where this terminology comes from?
Well, okay, fine. So there's another word that they use, right? Though not the correct term, right?
Yeah.
They call him obroni. Obroni really mean a white man, a stranger, right?
Yes, yeah.
So that is the word that is normally would have used. You're an obroni. But in the true translation of the word, it really means the white man, the stranger. So anybody who would have come into the community and is not a Maroon, you would call them an obroni.
Obroni, yes. Yeah.
So it's easier now, for us to sit down and to say all the things and level all the criticism that we want. But we weren't there. But my point is, the things that we can do now to make it right, that the generation that will come after us don't blame us. Because the generation that is going to come after us is going to have a lot of questions to ask us about our political situation and until now.
No,
why so many Jamaicans die as a result of political violence.
You mean 1962, when the so-called independence?
Until now.
Do you think Jamaica has a proper independence? Is this a political independence or economical independence?
That independence was basically not even a proper thing because I don't remember the exact term that they used for it. Because it's not that all the processes were followed through the British Parliament for the thing to happen.
Okay,
it's just like, I just grant you this thing.
Okay.
And just to get a seat as a way of shedding responsibility to the former colonies because economic situation.
And we still have a Governor General.
We still have a Governor General who is the representative of the throne, as it were. Because when the Queen, next time it could be King or whatever, right? Yeah.
And how the Maroons see the Governor General? Do you think that we should legislate to get this Governor General out? Because what purpose does he serve to we as Jamaica?
There are some things we got to look at, and we got to look at them carefully and not to think in a rush way. As an individual, I see no problem with us having a commonwealth. Because the world is like that. People have to group for economic reasons, for social and other cultural reasons, right? But if we have a commonwealth that shares a common market and stuff like that, just like how we have CARICOM in the Caribbean, right? I still don't think that we need to say to ourselves that we have to swear allegiance to the throne of England. Those days are long gone. And the Governor General represent that.
Exactly.
Because there are other Commonwealth countries that does not swear allegiance to the Queen. Exactly. We're just a part of a body that England is, and it so happened that the Queen lives in England and is the head. So we don't have to do this. One of the things when we are talking about true independence is not just word of mouth, but how do we act? Right?
Yeah.
And I have said before in many quarters that the British did a damn fine job of colonizing us. Because even so many years after, some of us still owe this British thing to our art, and when we speak about it in Parliament or other public place, they're gonna give you 1,000,001 reason why we should not sever these kind of ties. And I think it is time enough. Instead of us, if we knew that the Maroon did something wrong, those persons who are so vociferous about it should be even more vociferous about us severing those kind of colonial ties. And that lead to so many things.
Yeah, CARICOM, you mentioned CARICOM. What is the Maroon, as you as the colonel? What are the connection with the Maroon colonels and the CARICOM? What links is that?
Our thing is more like we want to do cultural things with groups, indigenous groups in the Caribbean. Not just CARICOM alone, but in the Caribbean and the whole, the Americas, that think like us, that have the same kind of struggles like us in the past.
Exactly.
Because I was in discussion with the Garifuna persons, and they would want to come to Jamaica. Since last year they want to come, but maybe this year they're going to be coming to a celebration on the 15th of October. Which is the third Monday of October.
I know before you come to London, you was in the United States of America. Were you there on Maroon business?
Well, part of it was and part of it was, personal.
Personal.
Because as a colonel, wherever I go, even if I go on private thing, the Maroon thing is always going to come up. So it's kind of difficult sometimes to
So
separate.
did you reach pertaining to, not the personal thing, but pertaining to, because you was in...
I was Washington State.
Seattle. Do you contact people there and how they feel about the present state of the Maroon?
My present there, and that is the reason why I was there in the first place, because those persons to whom I went, they would have come to Moortown time to time. So this relationship has been going on for the last for quite a while. They have been going on coming since Kofi Agasa came to this archaeological deal in Nanitown and in Seaman's Valley.
Exactly.
So that was where the relationship started. And I was even before I became the colonel.
Exactly, see.
It was a latter part of the late colonel tenure.
The other question, I spoke to you privately, I don't know if you want to, it's up to you if you want to mention this on the camera, but pertaining to reparation, how is the Maroon see reparation? And you think that the reparation should come through the Maroons because the Maroon and the Queen has a treaty? So you think that is a better way for us because the last of the 1st of August we march it 5 times. It's the 5th annual march to parliaments, charging them with genocide and ecocide on our people. How the Maroon looks on this genocide and ecocide of the people, and what approach you think best that you think that the Maroon is looking at it, how we should make this
I don't know that
journey for reparation.
I don't know that the British is going to take an apologetic position or say a kind of thing and say that we have wronged your people over the years and we have benefited from it tremendously. We have built the ivory towers and we have enriched our museum and our everything and our factories and so forth from the back of slave of your ancestors, and they're gonna just willingly, deal with reparation just like that. I doubt it. It is not up my sleeve to believe that, right?
Exactly.
I think maybe we might have to find another way of dealing with it. And
You
since
maybe,
Maroon,
what about
and
we
since,
use the way that Paul Bogle did? You think we could do that way?
I don't know that doing that seems more suicidal than anything else. Right? I don't know how that would work. I don't see.
Yes.
I don't see how that would have worked.
Exactly. See, so.
So we have to use that attack. We have to use that
What
ways.
attack that and ways
When
that
I
you
say
think that we
when I
should
don't
use?
say attack, I say attack.
Ah.
Meaning
Yeah.
other ways of dealing with it.
I
Right?
don't understand.
Yeah. So I more and more I'm kind of convinced that probably the Maroon take the lead role in this thing, and to say to approach it, the powers that be and says, look, we are the street over the years.
Yeah.
So you are accepting that
Yeah.
this thing happened, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And let us try and unravel it from that point and see where we get, right?
Because there's a damage.
Yeah,
we got to charge them for the damage that has been made.
The problem lies in if your accuser, right, and the person you are accusing of something is gonna be the lawyer and the judge.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work so easy. It's not gonna work so easy unless if you can hold them over a barrel to expose them and to name and to shame them.
Exactly.
That's how it's gonna happen. Because remember now, when Cameron is Jamaica, did not address it, so we should try to
because
go
I
back to and
think
move on.
during all the march, the 5th annual march, they don't let the television may be documented, but they don't show it to the public. Neither printed into the paper. So, and then we create amok on the street. That, you understand? So I think do you think that they're showing some resentment of shame?
Yeah, but
why they don't make these things public?
But if they control the media, and you're gonna march for one day, for something like that, what is it sum that one would consider an appropriate sum to deal with reparation for the damage that the society, the crown has caused upon our ancestors and us by extension, and you're gonna compensate us? What is the sum of money? Well, not necessarily the money, but the value of how it is. When slavery was abolished in the British West Indies, especially in Jamaica, 20 million pounds was paid to the farmer slave owners.
Then we didn't get it, did we?
No. I'm saying that 20 million that was paid to the farmer slave owner for the loss of their slave accordingly. And that 20 million pound that the British borrowed, they just paid back the other day.
To who?
To the bank that they borrowed from.
Okay.
It's not too long ago they finished paying it out. No, 20 million pound in 1838. 1838. How much do you think 20 million pound, the value of that would be now for today?
They couldn't afford to pay us.
And also, if the several owners were compensated that, then the many hundreds and thousands of slaves would have been compensated more than the 20 million pounds back then.
Exactly.
So it's an astronomical sum in my view that would owe. But I don't know that reparation is all about money.
No, it's not all about money.
It couldn't be all about money because it's going to be paid anyway.
No. It's
But
not
there
all
are other
about money.
things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, for example, the previous Prime Minister of Britain came to Jamaica and made an offer to build a prison. Mind you, the prison conditions in Jamaica are deplorable. Very deplorable. It's not places that you want human beings should have been in a way. Maybe the most hospitable one might be the gun court.
The gun court, yeah.
Right? And several other little outplaces that will keep people before they go.
They send them to the prison.
Yeah, but the Irish prison, they are deplorable. So, in a sense, a system with a prison is not a bad thing in certain way. But of all the things that you could have think of doing, even when the whole question of reparation was on the table and still it's very active. I think you could have looked at it if you're going to build a prison, because he was just assisting, he was not building a prison.
Yeah,
and also, to let prisoners in Britain who are of Jamaican descent, who they intend to deport after they finish their term, to send them back there before their term would finish and to stay in the prison there until they finish it.
Yeah, but we have a problem with that because when some of these criminals who commit the crime here in England, they were abiding citizens before they come here. So I think that if you turn these people into lawless criminals, they should be able to take care of them here. You with me? And secondly, there's so much options in Jamaica. We talk about schools, we talk about hospital. That what his name? Cameron could have afforded to make. Not prison. Prison to me is an insult of his contribution to our country.
But I raise
that he himself, father of slave owner, owned slave there in Jamaica.
No, but that's his father. Not his father.
Not his father, his father.
Yeah.
His four parents own.
Yeah, but the point
own slave there. So that is whatever call it, dash in the face in terms of that sort of.
Yeah, so that is why.
You with me?
That is why I say to you,
yes,
if that is what they did,
yeah,
right? And when the whole question of reparation was on the table, and it's still on the table, right?
Yeah.
And it was very active.
And make the point that it's not just about money. Yeah. There was other segment to reparation.
Yes.
You know, the damage that has been done psychologically, mentally, economically, and so on, all the rest of it.
We can name so many.
Many, yeah.
But the point is, once the thing was out there, and this is what they offered, and they show you their mindset.
Exactly. Yeah,
and that is the point I'm trying to make.
See.
You are talking about something that is good for you, but we are telling you about something
that is good for us.
That is good for us.
Yes.
And since we have the purse string, you better take what we are giving you. I forgot the whole story.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if you don't take anything, you become a better man.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, for 1 second, stop what I'm doing, like some people want to do, and to say we're going to be reparated, given money, or whatever, for the past wrongs of this colonial power.
Exactly.
They're not about to do it anytime soon.
Yes.
And if you can't hold them over a barrel, chances of you getting that done is not going to happen.
Exactly.
But I'm not saying that we should not continue to negotiate and to keep the thing on the front burner.
Exactly.
We need to do that.
Yes.
But you know, it's gonna be difficult because the persons to whom you're gonna this question was argued by Lord Anthony Gifford already in the House of Commons, in the House of Lords. And they were saying that they deny anything.
Exactly.
They buy these people.
Exactly.
They bought.
But
human beings are not supposed to be up for sale.
See, exactly.
And how you get to buy these things?
And do you agree that one of the biggest business that the white men ever successfully go into and profit is when they start buying black men? Do you believe this?
Well, it becomes such an economic gain to them and help to build up their countries various countries of Europe who were in the forefront of this slave trade.
Exactly.
Your Spain, your Portugal, your France, England, the Dutch.
And they say the Arabs too.
Well, the Arabs were doing it long before the British.
Long British, yes, exactly.
The Arabs are doing it long before the Europeans. And they were even more cruel than the Europeans too. The Chinese too, because they would castrate these black persons so that
See.
You know when you pass and you don't have to reproduce, you have reproduce. There's always a factory down here that you can do. So they were even more cruel. No, don't make anybody fool you.
Yeah, Colonel, I mean, the survival of this terrain in Portland and wherever the Maroon were fight, you know, the people were depending on I have a herbal shop here in London, and you know that where we from, we have a lot of herbs in there and stuff like that. Could you shed some light of how the survival of the people who were fighting, what they were wearing, what weapon they were fighting with, what type of herbs they were doing, what they were cooking, what they were eating in this terrain?
Well, first of all, is that you got to look at it from what it were. You are out there fighting in the wilderness, as it were.
See.
So you have to live from the land.
Yeah.
By and large. The food that you can grow on the land is what you have to eat. The food that grows on the land naturally is what you have to eat, right? The plants, the animals is what you have to survive. There was no pharmacist down the road where you can run to for if you have an headache, you get two pills to do that, right? If you get a cut, there was no hospital that you can run to for them to stitch you up. So you have to find when you have an headache, what kind of medicinal plants you have to use inside the hills there. And over the years, because one of the things is that people believe that many things that our ancestors did, they just learn them when they come to this side of the world. No, they had an history before that, thousands of years when they were in Africa, and they had knowledge, and that's what they took with them when they come to this side, to the other side of the Atlantic.
Knowledge of the holistic herbs.
Right.
Yeah.
And once they got there and they see similar plants and some of them same kind of plants, and you know that plants are in category, in family, in group. And what one thing can do, for example, take something like breadfruit. The same thing that the breadfruit can do, the jackfruit will do it.
Yes.
You know, the soursop is capable of that.
Exactly.
So if it's a diabetic thing, you know, you take these things. And they learn, sometimes it's trial and error, but they learn and they develop on whatever knowledge they had. So they use the things that
you
comes
know, Oliver comes in with there's an issue about the jerk rice. Did you hear about that issue? The Maroons did use jerk rice at that time.
Well, rice was not necessarily a part of the diet of the Maroons. Let us be pragmatic, right?
So what stand do you take, Oliver? You think it's a spit in the face? This is a chef, one of the British chef, major chef here. He developed a rice called jerk rice, and a lot of people was at odds with him, talking up says that this to the culture of Jamaica, because there is not such thing as jerk rice. What do you think about?
No, let me put it this way, because Jamaica did not register the word jerk, which we are trying to, right? Yeah. Then we will find ourselves in problem with it, right? Yeah. People will write up on it and people would use it, and controversy sometimes build business. Exactly. So the more controversy that you get out of it, the more is so-called jerk rice with Z. And that is what he wants. He doesn't care what you want to say as long as his bottom line is bulging, you know?
Exactly.
So I don't know. Because rice was not necessarily a part of the diet of the people back then. Yam, cocoa, plantain, those were the main part.
And they roast them. Did they roast them at that time under the dirt?
They roast, they boil, and they bake. Whatever they could, right? It was not about you going to a 5-star hotel to sit in the restaurant at a 5-star hotel. That was not the point.
Exactly.
The point was more survival. And guess what? The poorer you are, the more healthier you eat.
Exactly.
Because rich people don't eat healthy.
Exactly.
It is the poor that eat healthy because they live from the land.
Exactly.
They don't have so much chemical in their food because they cannot afford it.
Exactly.
So people have to understand that the basic diet of our foreparents, they would go out there on their wild hogs. They would catch their conies, they would catch all the crayfish and the janga, the prawn, or whatever you want to call them, or shrimp in the river. They hunt birds.
In Jamaica, we call them janga, crayfish, you know, that sort of thing.
And they eat plants like jokoto, wild hook, the bark of the ramoon, and other trees, the berries that goes in the forest, wild the mountain guava, and other berries that they eat, star apple, money apple.
The carcoon.
They eat carcoon. Carcoon is a staple diet. You know, you eat the carcoon in you make soup, you make stew. You pound it and you make a drink from it. Everything.
They say it's good for diabetes.
Right.
But Colonel, there is a question posed by a gentleman. He was a part of the program on Saturday. And I want to take this opportunity to address this question. This question were posed by a brother called Ripton. And he traced back his ancestors to Ireland or one of these lands. So I want to play this message he sent to see if you can shed some light on this.
Yes, greetings, Brother Twin, and big up on the event. I'm just sending, some message, for the Colonel. Just 2 questions, really, not a message. In regards to, certain aspects of the past, because doing my research, I realized there was certain things that was never been told publicly. Only few people from the Maroon, community know about it. And this is going back to Colonel Harris days and even before, and only my family in general. And it has to do with one of the former governor of Jamaica, a man called Alexander Lindsay. He had many altercations with the Leeward Maroons, who did a treaty signing, not the Windwards, just to make it clear, very clear. So I wonder how much the Colonel Colonel Sterling knows about this character, Alexander Lindsay. This is the same man who the place down Buffalo where Balcarres is named after. And he has a lot of impact in Jamaica to this day, but he had altercations with the Windward Maroons. So it would be nice to know how much Colonel know of this man. And also, what the other question is, does he know about Kenneth Bilby, doing a research about the whole treacherous fees thing? And if Colonel Sterling know about this research by Kenneth Bilby, then probably he would have come across the name Alexander Lindsay. So the question is how much he knows about this governor of Jamaica, and we're going back to the 1700s. He was governor from 1794 to 1801, Alexander Lindsay. How much does he know? That's one question. And the second question, in regards to the research that Kennedy did about the treacherous fees, it was referring to this man. His nickname was Bakra, or Balcarres was his other name. And so how much he knows about the research that Kenneth Bilby did, and how much he knows about this character, Alexander Lindsay, and the altercations with him and the Windward Maroon, which is never out in the public or ever spoken about. Yeah.
Yes, Colonel. You can hear what Ripton said.
Okay.
It's a lot to digest
Yeah.
to see if you can
Okay, fine.
make
So
some
let
clearance.
me start with Kenneth Bilby.
Mm.
I know somewhat about the research that Kenneth Bilby did.
Mhm.
I was pretty much there in the community at the time when he was doing research,
Mhm.
and I have read some of the works that he produced as a result of that research.
Mhm.
And I have been in consultation with him
Mhm.
and the others that he has not published
Mhm.
as yet,
Mhm.
and how we can get a hold of them, right?
Mhm.
So that much I know. As far as the governor Alexander Lindsay is concerned, I don't know too much about him, but this I would say:
Mhm.
the Maroons are always a proud people, and they don't care what you want to say about them, as long as they be who they are.
Mhm.
Because by you saying something about them and having altercation, that doesn't change them one way or the other.
Another.
They will remain who they are.
Mhm.
So the mere fact that Alexander Lindsay was unable to overthrow the treaty
Mhm.
or to infringe on it in any way, it shows that the Maroons were resolute in whatsoever they believe in and what they were doing, and they don't care.
See.
So, Balcarres is sometimes, well, Chips is on the other side. Balcarres is further up from it's up the valley
Mhm.
from Charlestown.
Mhm.
So whatever the problem was, the Maroons stood their grounds and they didn't give in. And that's the most important thing.
Mhm.
So that is how I would answer that question. Until I know more,
Mhm.
I won't venture to say anything more.
No.
At this point in time, I will chum.
Trauma, yeah, too. Yes, Colonel. Is there anything you want to post to the Colonel, my brother?
No, I was listening quite
No, any question you want to?
no, particularly, no, I was learning.
Yeah.
Knowledge is,
Yeah, Colonel. One of the other thing that because there's a lot of people that I am saying, would you say, for instance, with Muta Baruka, would you have a debate with him if you should call to clear up some of
Yes, I can.
this? Yes.
But one of those persons who believe in having a debate. To what ends will the debate? What are you going to gain from a
Gain
debate?
from a debate. Yeah.
Because if a man convinced against his will still hold on to his original opinion.
Exactly.
And if you're just gonna just have a debate for the main sake of having a debate, to me that doesn't make sense. I mean,
What I'm looking at Mutabaruka, even here, we hear his show has been broadcast here in London, and he have a big mouth. He speaks, and people gravitate to him what he's saying. You with me? You understand? So we need a debate with him, for not for him in person, but for his listeners to have a clarity about the stance of the Maroons, because he's the one are charging that the Maroons are sell out, and also that the Maroons should apologize to the Jamaican for signing treaties or the agreement that they selling slaves. You understand? So I'm thinking that, from my opinion, that a debate with him will able to shed some lights on his listeners.
yeah, but the point is though.
And I take your point on board in terms of what we would get from it.
Yeah, but the point is, right? Just like how we are having this interview now, and I am speaking on the Maroon position and the whole issue. What we need is to have more discussion like this and put it out there in the public, because all he's doing is having discussion and putting them out in there in the public. So we put them out in the public domain too. And the public will have their views.
Yeah.
Because it's not about saying something, but it's about putting the pieces together in a way that they make sense.
Exactly.
Because I can accuse anybody of anything I feel like saying any day of the week. But is my accusation founded?
Exactly.
Is it through malice? Is it through misunderstanding? Those are the things. And so when we put our position out there, and I am saying to you, why what happened the way it happened, how it happened.
Exactly. See.
And that is the position.
Yeah.
Because if you look back, the British was not about wanting to have a treaty, but they were forced to have a treaty.
Yeah.
If they could have
because they were losing the war.
If they could have get around
yeah.
it otherwise, and people must understand that it was the planters who said to the government, no way you're gonna be winning this war.
Exactly.
So you basically sort these people out and have a treaty with them. And that was what happened, because the planters were the ones who were suffering most of all.
But was the Maroon political plight against it? Was it physical, all physical, or was it spiritual as well? What was the plight and the strategy of fighting against this mighty army?
They use everything that was at their disposal. A war is not about you going to a war and not taking nuclear weapons. If you have them, take them, carry them. That's why you have them.
Have them, yes.
So anything that you have that will give you an edge, an advantage over your enemy, take it, use it.
Yeah.
And all four parents were not afraid to use the magical powers that they had.
Exactly. See.
No matter what terms you want to add to it, you can call it obeah, you can call it witchcraft or whatever. It was bringing results, and they were using
it. Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Exactly.
Don't you think that any of these superpowers now go to war and they leave there?
No. I noticed I carry this abeng. Could you just explain, because I was asked a lot of times about the abeng.
So
Could you just explain what the abeng is?
The abeng,
hold it up for the camera.
The abeng
yes.
is an instrument that was used primarily amongst our foreparents as a means of communicating. It is a side blown horn, and it is what you speak into. You blow notes that says different things. Different notes says different things.
Yeah.
So the public would have understand what note mean to gather themselves. What note mean that the community is coming.
So it was like a telephone.
It was the original cellular phone.
Cellular phone. Okay.
That's what it was.
All right.
And it is used as a musical instrument too, because sometimes you are playing, you use it as well.
But
it's mainly for communicating.
Okay, and then they use it to don't get things to wet and all those sort of things.
Well, you don't.
It's a different time.
It's a different point that you don't call it a abeng.
Abeng, that one.
That one is like a tender box.
Tender box, yeah. It's called tender box.
Right.
Yeah, it's from the same thing, but it's a tender box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the difference. Generally, the abeng is made from a cow's horn.
Yeah.
A tender box is generally made from a bull's horn. There's a difference between a cow's horn and a bull's horn.
Yeah.
To the casual person, they don't see it, right?
Yeah.
But the thickness of the tip of the bull's horn goes further up into the horn than that of a cow's horn.
Exactly. See.
So you'd have more work to turn a bull's horn into a proper abeng than if you were to use a cow's horn. So because of that thickness that it has now, it's better to put the cinder in there
because it's thinner. Well, I want to ask you two elders of the Moortown community, Bazik. Have you ever met that man? Could you tell me little you know?
I know Bazik very well.
What kind of person? Could you just tell the public what type of person?
Bazik was a drum player, and the good thing about
he's a Maroon.
Yeah. The good thing about Bazik, Ezekiel Lindsay was his right
name.
Is Bazik is one of them drum player because normally you use two drums.
Yeah.
Either you play the bass or you play the treble. Right? So we call the drums the bass drum or the treble drum, or the cutting drum or the rolling drum, or the male drum or the female drum. That is how we refer to them. And we refer to them as the iron. Bazik now is the man who could play both. He could cut and he could roll and the same drum. So it's a very.
But he make his drum himself. I remember him used to show me the drum. He makes them himself.
He makes them himself. He was a very skilled drummer. He was a good okrema. He was an okrema master.
Exactly.
He's a skilled drum player. Because some drummers, some just cut and some roll.
Exactly. See.
But the ones who can both cut and roll, it's a better.
Another one is 1 Foot George. He was the man that I've seen at the Maroon celebration, blowing the abeng.
And he was also a drummer.
Tell me something about 1 Foot George, man. These men are my idols.
1 Foot George was a good abeng blower. And he was also a good drum player. And he could always cut and roll as well too. He was.
Is there any others that you want to mention from that community?
Sometimes I don't want to, because you have Manuel and you have Lamine, with two brothers in the Latin. You have brother Isaac who's still alive now. And those persons were good drum players. I mean, you could go on and name many more names, like Barty and all those kind of persons. My father was a drum player as well too. But never did a lot of it during my adult life. But when I even was born, So there was a lot of persons.
And you mentioned in early days one of the interview I have with you about your dad. He's an herbalist as well. He used to make medicine.
He used to make medicine
for the people.
And I had was to go with him when he was gathering these things. And that is why the knowledge that I know about the medicine is most of what I would gather from him and from other persons in the community who were medicine men, as it were.
Well, Mr. Colonel Sterling, it's nice having you here, sir, in our company to do this wonderful interview. You know that my name is Twin Brothers from the Royal Maroon Herbs. We are here. One of the other issues that I want to get out, and I want you to give me a feed on this to the people. We want to form a Maroon branch here in London. We have a body of the Maroon active, that we can be a part of some of the celebration and development, the ecotourism that is happening in Jamaica, and to keep the life of the Maroons spirit here. And I want to speak also about the school, what the Maroon presently is doing about teaching the children in the community about the Maroon.
Okay, fine. So, let me deal with the community part of the school.
Please.
We never generally go into the school more than to teach them more than the singing and the dancing. Right? But the language part is done in the cultural center. This is where you teach the young people of the community what we do. Because we do have a small space. It's not a big space, but it's sufficient enough to do what we are doing at this point in time. So this is where you engage the children in terms of the language. But the singing and the dancing is done there as well. We go into school from time to time to do that as well. So the other part of the question was again the
branches.
The branches here in England, right?
Yeah.
So since I was here the last time in April, one of my discussion with persons here, and one thing I wanted to do before I came is for us to establish a Maroon in the diaspora group, right? That will correspond with the Maroon Council in Jamaica. From our neck of the wood, the Windward Maroon, especially in those in the upper part of the Red Valley. And I have had discussion with yourself and people of like mind And I'm hoping that when I turn my back, we should have had a meeting, but because of the venue, but we had some discussion it on Saturday night and during Saturday, and the persons who are here whom I expect to continue that is yourself and Pressers and the rest of them.
Yes.
About and also with Anthony Downer up in Manchester.
Manchester, yeah. What I want to clear to, in terms of the Maroon language dialect, is anyone in Jamaica that actually knows the
it is a dialect.
Language
it was a dialect in essence. Say fluently. When you speak language fluently, you are cutting country. What we have attempted in the past, and which I have had discussion with some other persons from Ghana, is to get somebody to resident in the community to teach children how to speak the three languages in its pure form. Because when you can do that, then you will get a better understanding of the other Indo-Indian environment.
And you're working on that
that's
at the moment. So we want to just end this discussion by saying we welcome you here from Portland, Moortown Maroon, the Maroon Colonel, to London for this excellent interview that you have give us, and we intend to have more sittings like this so the people can actually hear. You with me? So I will thank and welcome you again for this wonderful experience, my brother. And welcome, my brother.
Since you said
Akwaba,
then I must say
Medasi, my brother. Thank you.
And
the Maroon Pitney.
And they have all the Maroons.
Exactly.
Yes. They say Yankee Pong best name.
Exactly. Thank you very much, sir.